Good afternoon. It's almost 2 p.m. UK time. Yeah, let's have a look at the charts. Going to have a relatively short stream today. Yes, I'm back in London. I'm not in El Salvador at the moment. But yeah, I want to look at BTC today, and then I'm going to kind of go over TRVL, have a quick look at QANX, and go straight into it. So my last stream was Friday, and I was thinking maybe we do an SFP of this low, and we didn't do that, huh? It just went straight up. So let's have a look and see what's going on. I'm just going to update the volume and hide this analysis. I'm going to also have a look at the order flow. So let me have a look at the order flow first. So last week, for some reason, XOCharts wasn't working, so I couldn't see the order flow. But here you can see the CVD is going down, the price is going up. I've got a big short that just closed out with a liquidation bubble. This is looking really bullish right now on the order flow. You can see that there's bullish divergence forming on the order flow. The CVD is going down, the price is going up. It's quite bullish locally, so that's good to see. That helps. So let's go to the chart. And so you're looking at the charts and you're thinking, should I buy now? Should I wait for the retrace? Is this the bottom? Well, look, let me just update the volume. You see what's happened is that the value area low has come down. So let me put the volume back in. So now we're trading back above the value area low. The point of control is still where it was. Got this high volume node. So we're getting a change in volume right now, but we've kind of cleared a whole bunch of liquidity, filled a whole bunch of gaps lower down. Had a really nice bounce, decreasing volume. So this is just a bounce. It's not an entry at the moment. We haven't had any kind of meaningful backtest, and ideally what we want, you see how we're back above this golden pocket. So we kind of lost the golden pocket, we're back above the golden pocket. What we want to see is we want to see a backtest of this area, and we can see that the golden pocket and the price is now trading above the golden pocket now. It's trading above the value area low. Actually, that was the high volume node. Where was it? I removed the wrong one. That's the value area low there. See that? So it's slightly lower. So what we're trying to do now, we're back into the value area, which is it could be a deviation from the low, from the value area. And now we're back above the golden pocket. So we've cleared a whole bunch of liquidity. We haven't gone down to take this low. And what we're looking at right now is a nice bounce. But what we're looking for is a back test. We're looking for a pullback. And so what I said before still stands. And so you still have these kind of trend lines. And so until these trend lines are broken and back tested for a higher high, then we're still kind of in a sell-off area. And then potentially we could go up all the way up to the point of control for another down before we can find some support to go up potentially. So that's kind of what's playing out now. Let's have a look at the weekly time frame and Let's see what that is showing us. Quite a nice bullish week compared to last week's sell-off. Last week we had a really strong buying tail in that sell-off. So there's clearly some support forming at the lows of last week. And so we're getting the buyback. Potentially what we want to do next week is go down, back test and push up, depending on how this week ends. And so it depends. Do we get a piercing candle at the end of this week? It depends how this weekly candle ends, actually. And if I kind of bring these back in. Let me hide these fixed ranges. I'm going to hide and delete that. And get rid of these trend lines again. What we're looking for is to see how this week ends, actually. Potentially, it could either... There's so many ways it could end, and so we still have the weekend to consider. But do we get a bullish engulfing? Do we get a piercing? Or do we just get another sell-off for continuation to the downside? These are some questions. And so right now, it looks as though possibly with the bullish divergence that's forming on the order flow, it's looking probable, more probable, for some kind of bullish reversal candle forming on this week period that we're in. And what we want to see is if we get a piercing candle. And the piercing candle needs to close basically above in the value area. You see that from the previous week, which is $90,392 on the Bybit inverse perpetual chart. That's the chart that I'm using. So if we can close this week above this 50% mark, which is 90,392, that would be a weekly piercing. And then we're looking for another green weekly for continuation to the upside. Otherwise, we get a rejection and continuation. So there's kind of, next week is going to be very important for crypto, for Bitcoin, and actually that will also be how this monthly candle form. Right now the monthly candle's looking like a crazy sell-off, but it's decreasing volume and we're getting a really strong buying tail at the moment. And so we want to see how the monthly ends as well, because that we could see a higher time frame reversal form right here. So that, I think that's the most probable scenario, a higher time frame reversal. And we're getting really nice bullish divergence. The price is back above the golden pocket, is back into the value area. And so for traders, depending on where we put in the pivot, probably be looking for a retrace into support, depending on how we put the pivot here. If we put the pivot in here now, then we're probably looking to go all the way back down to the golden pocket. And the higher we go, the higher the chance we get to form support higher up and not necessarily go all the way down to the golden pocket, maybe somewhere where there's confluence. So it all depends on this pivot that's about to be put. How far up we go matters. So do we go all the way up to go down to the 382 to backtest for support for continuation to the upside? Or do we put a pivot in here to go all the way down to the golden pocket, which would kind of correspond with this high volume node? So there's a few variables here which is developing story. Can't really predict that, just have to keep an eye on the charts. But we're getting quite a nice bounce, but it's decreasing volume, you can see that. So it's not crazy bullish. So ideally what you want to see is increasing volume when the price goes up. You're not getting that. But we are seeing bullish divergences, and so shorts are being stopped out and closed. And market is still kind of in fierce territory. And so I think the market is just waiting for that to turn a little bit before the market starts to buy back in. So people aren't chasing, traders won't necessarily chase the pump. They'll be looking for a pivot, and they'll be looking for a good setup to go long. And then the question is, what happens next? Because we do need to break these trend lines. I think probably this first trend line will probably break quite easily. It's this outer one that probably matters more. If we are really in a bear season, if the bear season has started, we will probably just do that. That will be the next big sell-off. Okay, it'll be aggressive, be an aggressive sell-off. Okay, if the bear season hasn't quite started yet, then it is possible that we reject, we break, and maybe we go up to test the highs one more time for an actual real short opportunity. That's when the shorts will really likely to kind of get involved, and based on these current two pivots, if assuming that the current lows it holds, we don't take out the current low, then we have a golden pocket region at around 106. It kind of marries with a daily level there. Some end parks. Do we go up that high? Possibly, but if it is, it'll be an opportunity to short. Something like that. That possibly could be a massive short opportunity. Trying to push it all the way back down to the low, depending on how it happens and when it happens. And then it could just put in a higher low, and then the whole thing could be some kind of higher time frame upward channel, or we could be forming a head and shoulders pattern. So there's a couple of things that could be forming here. If it's a higher time frame channel, it could just keep on going, couldn't it? And that's, we don't know what's going to happen. If it's just a head, if that would form the right shoulder of a head and shoulders pattern, then you can see the head and shoulders pattern clearly, can't you? You can kind of see it. It's like that, potentially right shoulder, break the neckline, back test, and then down we go. Yeah, assuming that we can take out this neckline, break it and hold. Okay, but the minute you take out these lows, then your confirmed continuation of bearish market structure and the probability of a continued sell-off are much higher for continuation down to somewhere around, who knows, 54k. Okay, but you can also get situations where, depending on the market, depending on how the market reacts at certain levels, where you continue putting in some kind of higher low, and you just follow this like a channel like that. I mean, ideally, if that was to play out, you're probably looking to go much higher and take out the all-time high again, aren't you? Because then you're looking to go up and down, and it's just whatever. It's just a continuation of an upward channel. Yeah, and that could go on for a while. It'll shake the market out if that happens. I think probably that's the most likely scenario, that we go up, reject, and fall back down. And right now what you're looking for is the price to reject, back test some kind of support level and hold, possibly this golden pocket that's been lost and potentially recaptured off the value area low. Once you get back into the value area, then you have a clean setup for a long. All the way up to somewhere around 106 at the very least. It's kind of what you're looking at the moment. For a reaction and then all the way back down, and then we have to see what happens, because you could quite easily put in a higher low to go up again. Or if you take out the lows, then you've actually, with a little bit of sell pressure, you could end up with a crazy head and shoulders pattern. And this one is big. This one is big and potentially you could go all the way down to take out this low, but probably going all the way down to here over a period of time, and then the bear market really has started. Okay, and so we don't know. And the thing is, a lot of people are saying bear market started, this is bearish, we don't really know. No one really knows what's going to happen. No one can predict the future. It's just a balance of probabilities. And at the moment, because of the bearish CVD, the bullish CVD that's forming on the order flow, because of the potentially reclaiming this golden pocket, potentially coming back into this value area, it's actually starting to look a little bit more bullish right now for long setups for a lower high. That will be the first kind of big target, the golden pocket of the all-time high to this pivot low that was put in on the 20th of November. That's the most likely probability, a setup for a long to go up. And then obviously longs will take profit. People who wanted to short or got trapped will look to exit, and then you get sell pressure. And if you, depending on how the sell pressure forms, will depend on the next move to the downside, and the veracity of that move will depend on trap shorts at the lows. Okay, that's kind of where we're at right now with Bitcoin. It's nothing really more to add, except that when I look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, yeah, it's kind of, it looks like it doesn't look strong, huh? So I don't think the market is looking for Bitcoin to be weak, huh, at the moment. Bitcoin wants to be weak, this is going to start flying up, and at the moment it's kind of going sideways, potentially consolidating for another move to the downside. I don't know how long that will take, but that's kind of what I have in mind at the moment, because we have broken this upward trend on Bitcoin dominance, and a lot of altcoins have been kind of bottoming or trying to bottom or selling off, but a lot of altcoins are really cheap at the moment. So when you're looking at your altcoin portfolio, you're freaking out probably, but relatively speaking, a lot of the altcoins, Sui's at 1.5, ENA is cheap, Solana looking quite cheap. A lot of altcoins have kind of sold off in a very detrimental way. So when people are looking to buy back in, they'll be looking at the altcoins again, won't they? They won't necessarily be looking at Bitcoin. And so it's the same problem, isn't it? So that's kind of where we're at. Do we form an invert head and shoulders pattern on a higher time frame to go down and break the neckline for a big move to the downside next year sometime? Don't know when that's going to be, potentially March, April, who knows? Or do we continue this upward channel and continue going upwards? I think no one really knows. Okay, so you just kind of have to take it level to level. At the moment it's looking quite bullish, with bullish divergences forming on the CVD, so you'd think there's still there's still room to go up here. That's what you'd think. All right, that's Bitcoin. I hope that helps. Let me quickly have a look at the SPX. The SPX is kind of bounced again. I mean, the SPX is going up with decreasing volume, but it's not looking like a crazy sell-off yet, is it? At the moment, the SPX is in a bullish engulfing candle. Could that be a bull trap? It could be, huh? So you have to be careful about that. The Russell 2000. It looks like a clean bounce off the value area high, which is actually quite bullish. It didn't go further down, it didn't fall back into the value area. It had a nice bounce with a bullish engulfing candle forming on this weekly time frame. So I don't know if it's as weak as people think or are saying. Okay, so this food for thought. Let's have a look at gold. Yeah, gold is still going up, and so I think we'll know when gold really sells off, and so gold hasn't really sold off yet. Maybe gold is topping out. Maybe gold is topping out, because then we could get a rotation from gold into risk on assets when everything looks like it wants to rip. That's when we're going to get the real rip, when gold starts to sell. Looking at gold against Bitcoin, there's a kind of like a bearish harmonic forming here against Bitcoin. Don't know which pivot you would necessarily take. Possibly that one. Something like that. It's a bit of a bearish harmonic forming here, so possibly we get gold sell against Bitcoin. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go down, because here there's so many times we had something similar like that and it still went up. See that? And slightly different. Slightly different. Kind of still went up. Here you see here against Bitcoin it put in a lower low, and here actually we haven't actually taken out the low yet. So right now I think gold against Bitcoin is looking bearish for gold. Maybe we do come back down to test the lows against Bitcoin again, and that will be quite good for Bitcoin. It'll be good for Bitcoin. Is it good for the rest of the market? Just have a look at the rest of the market. Well, we did break these kind of outer trend lines, and we're just coming down to test. So that's usually what happens. You get a test and then you get another rally. This is total 2. See that? Total 2 and total 3. We had these breaks. We're getting these kind of pullbacks for a back test on these total 2 and total 3 market caps. So maybe not unexpected. We're not getting a crazy rip to the upside. It's kind of going up gently, but the problem is a lot of these, dare I say it, weaker coins or kind of degen coins are really selling off. And so it's not the same type of altcoin market that we've experienced in the past. It's clearly going to be something different this time around. Now, am I expecting a crazy altcoin season? Probably, yeah. Probably still expecting that. Probably. It's usually going to take place when no one expects it, or people get really bearish. Usually. This is others against BTC. When it peaked in January 22, look at that. It was at 9.4. Is that million? Now it's down at 2.4 million. So there's like a 4x potential growth to put another high in. You can see that others against Bitcoin has just been selling off. Is the low in? It's possible. It's possible. Back above the point of control here. No, we're kind of not above it yet. So we had a bit of a liquidity run to the downside. Let's have a look at ETH BTC as well. Still trying to find support on the point of control. And this is a total point of control against Bitcoin. So it's not a bad place to be, actually. It's not a bad place for ETH against BTC to find support. If it does find support, then the next target will be the value area high and possibly that outer trend line at the highs there all the way up to there. So it's food for thought. That's kind of my overall analysis, very quick. I'm going to move on now. Let's have a look at QANX quickly. QANX is still kind of struggling with low volume, a little bit of uncertainty. We haven't had the big drop to take out this low again. We've taken out all these lows. 1, 2, 3. We've taken these out with this drop from last week. This week we're seeing a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of buying, but kind of more selling still, decreasing volume. So that's generally speaking, we're looking for a reversal, whether we go down one more time to hit slightly lower, to come into these lows. It kind of still goes back to this that I drew a long time ago. But ultimately we are waiting for crazy volume, a massive injection of volume. Let me have a look at no real differences on the QANX token. Let's have a look at QAN Platform. Looking at the X page. There's a panel discussion. With Johan Poleskak. 7th annual summit. When is it? 2nd and 3rd of December. I guess there's going to be some big announcements in 2nd and 3rd of December. If there's going to be a big discussion there. Maybe he's going to release some things beginning of December. And that's really it, huh? Nothing else. Registration is free, huh? Let's have a look. Where is it? Brussels. Lunch break. Trying to see when he speaks. Do I have to search for his name? Don't know. There he is. So he's speaking on, which day is that? 3rd of December, that's day 2. After lunch at 1:25 through to 1, it's not much, it's 25 minutes. From detection to prevention, advancing cybersecurity. Yeah. Not a big deal, huh? It's just a small segment. I guess it's a big event, and so there'll probably be a lot of networking and stuff, but ultimately it's not as big as maybe we want. Let's have a look at these monthly time frame candles. Yeah, I mean, I think that's okay, except that if that monthly closes like that, that's a lower close, so it's still quite bearish. At the moment, it's decreasing volume. We have taken out these lows, which is good, but then you want a reversal somewhere here in December. We'd have to see how that plays out. Do we get a reversal if we don't put in a new low, if we just put in a higher low? Oops. We go all the way up. It's like a 25% increase just to get to the current month high, which will probably be the extent of the move in a month, short of anything, short of any crazy mainnet announcement or release, whatever. So I don't know how much room there is for growth next month unless we get a mainnet release. It's food for thought. So we do need to see increasing volume on the way up, and it has to be a real injection of volume. So we're potentially not ready yet, technically, but I mean, anything can happen with QAN Platform. That's QAN Platform for you. Don't really have any more insight, except we are seeing potentially a bullish harmonic point C forming here. And really what you want to see next is a push up to take out those highs, which would still be a bearish harmonic, 300% increase in value. All right, that's kind of QAN Platform. Any questions on that? No real changes from last week. Getting a little bit buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, selling. That's basically it. Excuse me. Typically when you form a bottom, unless you get a crazy bullish injection like that, you're looking at a few weeks, at least 2 or 3 weeks, and sometimes it can take a little bit longer. You see here it took about 4 or 5 weeks. We have to see what happens in the beginning of December. Possibly we go up another, depending on how this ends actually, we don't know. But usually we'll go up at least 50% of the previous month before people sell again, if it's a continued selling. And usually the case in the first instance if you close lower on the month, on the candle, usually. But it depends. I mean, if we close above the previous month low, then this changes a little bit. We have to see how we close at the month. All right. Possibly I'll do a stream. Possibly I'll do a stream for the beginning of the month, yeah, just to have a look at the monthly candle. So I might do 2 streams next week. That's QANX. All right. Thank you for watching. And then I'm going to kind of have a look at TRVL. So TRVL has been in bloodbath territory for a while now. Okay. It's just a reality of TRVL. There's no 2 ways of looking at this. Yeah, we've putting in all, we're putting in all-time lows. There was some signs of a possible reversal here, possible bottoming, and then we got this, a little bit of a sell-off. Okay, on the weekly time frame it looks pretty miserable. Red, 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 like almost 5 red weeks in a row, and lost another 58% in terms of value with a lot of volume. At the moment on the weekly time frame it looks like decreasing volume, so it looks like the selling is tapering off. And what's interesting about the volume on TRVL is that we're getting a lot of volume here, like more volume than ever. And I think that's a good sign. I don't think it's a bad sign. I think people are like thinking, oh, that's really bad, we're getting a lot of volume at the lows, but actually it's the reverse. It's a good sign that we're getting volume at the lows. Not a bad sign. It just means that the value area, the price is still within the value area. So if I kind of expand the chart, and actually this is the 4 exchanges that I use. I don't know if there's any more exchanges that I can add. So let me just have a look, because I haven't done this in a while. Is there any more exchanges I can add? Yeah, wrapped base. Look, aerodrome. What I want to do is look at it. Coin market cap. Coin market cap. So our volume is still good, like $500,000 or more. Our market cap is low at 1.1, and then the fully diluted valuation is at $2.7 million. It's really low for a real world project that has a real business use case. Let me have a look at the markets here. So right now the volume on the, it's not on perpetuals, so it's a spot. Mostly on Gate, KuCoin, little bit of Mexi, Biconomy, there's a bit on Biconomy, and then Bybit's much less. Uniswap, Aerojone, not much there. And that's a trading pair with the wrapped ETH there. Get a lot of volume on KuCoin and Gate, and even Biconomy. Yeah? That's interesting. And so Biconomy was the organic listing. It's not a tier 1 exchange, but that was organic. That wasn't pushed or promoted by D-Travel. And that's kind of what we need. Now, the reason for the sell-off is very obvious if people don't know. For reasons outside of D-Travel's control, and it's not an excuse. It's adding to the downward pressure. For reasons outside of D-Travel's control, TRVL picked up an ST tag on Bybit, ST. So the ST tag means that this token is being considered for delisting on Bybit. Okay, it's not the first time it's happened. This has happened 3 times since, this is the 3rd time since February that TRVL has picked up this ST tag, the 3rd time. So is it 3rd time unlucky or 3rd time lucky? Who knows? Yeah, no one really knows. But I can tell you that from the information that I've received, the reason why is that Bybit is aggressively going after tokens with low market cap valuations. And so the threshold at the moment is about $5 million. And so for $5 million, we probably have to go up about a 3x from here, or 200% rather. 200%. Is that 2x or 3x? 3x. To about 0.008. We probably have to go to about there to get back into the territory where we're not under threat. So really this is down to the bulls to take the price up. It's going to require market buying to achieve that. That will take us we'd have to go all the way up past the point of control. I would say that you don't necessarily have to look at the volume on one exchange, because especially with Bybit, which has, relatively speaking, the lowest, one of the 6th lowest volume, or the 6th highest volume. So that's kind of why I look at this chart, which is a combination of the 4 exchanges which I use, KuCoin, Gate, Mexi, and Bybit. That's why I use all 4, so I can get an aggregated volume count. But obviously it's not including Biconomy. If I was to add Biconomy, then I wouldn't get all the historic data, because it would only start from when it was launched on Biconomy. So at the moment, when I extend the value area, you can see, because of the volume that we're putting in at these levels, we have a really strong high volume node somewhere around 0.0036, and then we're kind of trying to edge out the value area low. We're kind of underneath it a little bit right now. We're getting a little bit of buying, market buying, but not enough to change this. So we're kind of slightly bearish still right now when you're looking at the charts. People are thinking, when is this going to go up? Is this going to go up? Should I buy now? And I always say the same thing. I always say, you know, do your own research. If you're going to buy, you have to dollar cost average. You can't just buy and hope for it to go up. You can, but sometimes you buy and it goes down, and then you're like, shit, I can't buy anymore because I've bought everything. I've put all the value I have into it. When you look at it in the higher time frame, this is a really strong sell-off, and it doesn't look like the RSI is following this sell-off. So it's a bit oversold at the moment with low volume. When I say low volume, I mean comparatively compared to the indicators. So often when there's no divergences, they follow each other. And so you kind of get this behavior there, and you kind of get this behavior here. You get a similar kind of pattern. But what you can see is now the RSI is actually still higher than that point. And so this last sell-off has been aggressive, but at the same time it doesn't reflect. There's a little bit of bullish divergence there. It's not hidden, it's obvious, it's clear to see, but there's a little bit of bullish divergence. That means that if we do get buying, if we do start getting market buying, this will probably go up quite fast, but then you can form bearish divergences at the high. That's the problem when this happens. I'm just looking at these other indicators too. Again, the same thing. You see how here you put in a much lower low from that peak, and then the MACD, we haven't even taken out that low yet. See that? So this is actually again, it's bullish divergence forming here. Usually if this was following each other, then you'd be like, okay, this is a healthy sell-off. But dare I say it's an unhealthy sell-off. It's like people panic selling. And it's mainly due to the Bybit ST tag, probably. But then there are other factors too. I mean, a lot of people, there's been a little bit of chatter on Telegram. There's a little bit of conversation going. Certain people have asked for questions which are being answered. And so if you're not on the Telegram, then you should go and have a look. And it's at TRVL Community. You can go and have a look. Different people are talking about different things. The CEO has been talking, Andrea, I've been talking, different people have been talking. And it's all about the future. It's all about this, the new chapter. So if you go in and you go to the TRVL channel, you go to the pinned message, you can see the new chapter, a note from TRVL's new CEO, and you can go and have a look at that, click through. It takes you to the TRVL page. This has been posted on LinkedIn as well. And what's happened is that in the last year, we've had a change of CEO, we've had a change of leadership, and the vision of TRVL has changed. And here, Eric Pace, who's the new CEO, who is trying to explain the changes. First, he's trying to explain what's broken. Then he's trying to explain what we're trying to do and how to do it, why we need to do this, and then what's happening next. So he's promised, since he posted this on November the 17th here on the TRVL page, he says in the coming weeks, TRVL will begin revealing the first pieces of this future, unveiling new ways for travelers and operators to participate in TRVL. So effectively what's happening, based on the information that I'm reading, not based on what I know, based on what I'm reading, is that the new leadership have looked at all the feedback. They've looked at the charts. They are looking at the charts. They're very interested in the token price because it reflects the market, the confidence in TRVL. It reflects the confidence in the project and the future of the project. And they are taking it seriously. They're taking it seriously that they're making changes. And effectively, for people who don't really understand what's going on, ever since TRVL launched, we've been in this crazy sell-off. There's been a sell-off since the launch. This was AltSeason bull market, and then we had another sell-off at the beginning of this year. Little consolidation over the summer, and then we're getting this kind of potentially final sell-off, potentially final sell-off. Now what's happened is the leadership has changed, and now they're starting to announce and make changes, and you can start to see those changes because all you have to do is just go to the DTRVL website. We have a brand new, dare I say brand new, it's an updated website. You can see the website's updated, it's looking fresh. And here in the resources, you can have a look and you can start to see updated information about DTRVL. And this is still changing. This is still being updated. And there's a lot of kind of changes coming. They haven't been put here yet. And when they get announced, then they'll probably be put here for people to see. Okay. So the original app is still there. You can still go and book in different parts of the world, like Toronto, using the DTRVL app, and that's on the base app too, as a mini app, and you can still do that, and that's actually part of our application, as a core part of our application, and that works. That's a business that works, a decentralized business that's works and is working. The proof is in the pudding, or in the eating of the pudding. And so if you go to the DTRVL general channel, you can see here, look, new booking site activated, new booking process. You can see that. So you can see there's activity. You can click on those listings. You can go back, click on it. You can see which property has received the booking and where it is. This looks like it's in Brazil. Yep, it's in Brazil. And so the business is working, yeah. Is it profitable yet? Not yet, yeah, because the network is still relatively quite small. And if you want to have a look at the network, you can just go to dune.com/DTRVL DAO/DTRVL-network-analytics. The link is there. And here you can see our real world network. And the growth of our real world network. And so you can see the stats. All right, it's a bit slightly out of date now, 22 days, but relatively speaking, these are live stats. Okay, I'm going to have to mention to the team so they update these stats, so it's not 22 days, so it's live. But in any case, the business is working. Is it profitable yet? No, but slowly but surely we're getting there. As a business, as a decentralized business, we're getting there. And so as a business, I think we're good, because it's just a matter of time before we get enough listings to justify the business as it is in its current form. It's just a matter of time, okay? And if you go back to Telegram, have a look at Telegram, you can see, look at this, new booking site activated. Furt Valley just launched a new direct booking site powered by DTRVL with listings in San Salvador. See that? And so everyone who's been following me knows that I helped choose El Salvador with Eric. We've kind of been focused on El Salvador to push DTRVL in El Salvador. And here you can see that someone has listed 6 listings, and it looks like 3 different properties. Look, 1, 2, 3 different properties with 6 listings in San Salvador. And that adds to our El Salvador collection. And so if anyone has been following my stream, you'll know full well that when I first went to El Salvador, there was no listings whatsoever. It was 0. And now when you look at El Salvador, we have 20 listings. I'd have to count to see how many properties there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And from 0 to 10, that's a relatively big achievement. There's been no incentive for me personally. I haven't been paid to do this or to initiate this idea, this idea of D-Travel becoming significant in El Salvador. And so someone asked a question on Telegram. It's a very important question, and I'm just going to go to that. And it was kind of in the TRVL channel. There was a conversation about El Salvador, and we're going to have a look at that conversation now quickly. Let's have a look. Lots of conversations, so you don't have to kind of look at it all, because it's mostly chit chat and some negativity. Here, this is the question by Kenny. Crypto sentiment is low. What is the reason to focus on El Salvador instead of other big countries? Kenny is quite sad that Google Trend does not show TRVL picking up, and he's not going to El Salvador for tour. What Kenny hopes to see is that D-Travel is accessible worldwide, and he's able to choose nice stay out of many listings, not a few listings. The current focus sounds weird, okay? And so that's the comment. And I respond, and look, the answer is not a definitive answer. It's not like this is it and there's nothing else. Of course, there's a million ideas out there. Everyone has their own idea. No one is discounting anyone's idea or strategy, yeah? And ultimately, we don't really know if a strategy is going to work until we try it and see. Ultimately, that's how we're gonna know. But the reality is that, and this is my answer, there's many good reasons why, okay? First, El Salvador is a small country. And because it's small, it's very easy to market to and to target as a small country. It's a lot more difficult to target a bigger country like Canada or the USA or anywhere else, really, when you have a larger market, more competition, higher prices for different things like advertising or referrals, etc. Whereas you have a small country which is relatively virgin in the sense that it's just opened up or opening up, and still a lot of businesses or companies worldwide are waiting and hesitant or waiting to see what happens. And so that's the opportunity. Opportunities to go in before everyone else and to establish a stronghold there before the competition comes and does its best. Okay, so because it's a small country, you don't have to advertise to 100 million people. You can advertise to a smaller portion, and because it's a small country, everyone knows each other, and it becomes easier for word of mouth to travel as well. The tourism is exploding there, and that's a key fact. The tourism is growing in El Salvador. You only have to search online to see. Okay, I'm gonna have a look. Tourism growth in El Salvador. Let's have a look. Just a Google search. This is just Google AI. El Salvador's tourism is experiencing rapid growth, with visitor numbers increasing significantly from 1.7 million in 2019 to 3.9 million in 2024, driven primarily by a dramatic improvement in public safety. You see that? The government there is really pushing hard with tourism. It's a big deal. And there's many, it's not just sports tourism, there's other forms of tourism. They're building a second airport. They've created a second surf city, and so there's a lot of things going on there. Also, you have the World Surf Tournaments regularly go to El Salvador, and there's a lot of positive indicators which make El Salvador a good target destination for a small startup like D-Travel. So it's a small country. Prices are generally low, and that's really important for us because we don't have unlimited resources or funds, so we can't just blow everything on a 2-week initiative in a country which is already really expensive. And so not only can we spend less and get more money that we spend for the amount that we spend. But there's also the government that's helping. The government wants to bring tourism to El Salvador. And so the idea is that we'll go there, we're going there, establishing ourselves, becoming recognized, making connections, and hopefully in the future, we may be able to get help and maybe even partnerships from either the government there or other organizations connected to tourism or to the government and tourism, and that's going to help us. So there's a lot of reasons why. And the other thing is that D-Travel is about to launch a pilot. So if you missed it, in the blog post that Eric posted on the D-Travel page, he talks about a pilot scheme. He says we'll be, look at this, we'll also be piloting a new ownership model that hasn't existed in the travel industry before, starting first in destinations that demonstrate the clearest alignment between local operators, community leadership, and D-Travel's long-term vision. Our first initiative is underway in El Salvador, okay? And it will serve as a foundation for everything that follows. See that? So the CEO has decided this is the good place, and he's actually found the place, the first initiative. He's already talked, and we've already passed the first stages, and that's to be announced. And so it goes back to answer Kenny's question in Telegram. That's where the first pilot is going to be, and it's not the only place. And this is the other thing you have to. This is what I said in Telegram. I'm in London right now. Eric is in Italy as we speak. Doesn't stop. The work doesn't stop outside of El Salvador just because we are looking at El Salvador. Okay. It's just a good place for a proof of concept. And if we can achieve our goals, and I believe we will, I strongly believe we will, if we can achieve our goals in El Salvador, then that will open up the doors to so many other places in Central and South America and beyond. Okay. So it's really important that we make El Salvador work. And I think in terms of probabilities, we've got extremely good chance of succeeding there, compared to if we were to try to do what we're thinking about in a country like Portugal or in a country like Greece or somewhere else where it's already saturated, where there's a lot of competition, and where El Salvador is beckoning for a decentralized business like D-Travel to come and do something. And the other thing is that El Salvador is extremely crypto friendly. There's a lot of tax benefits for crypto startups, huge benefits, and so we can make use of those benefits. There's a lot of positive reasons, and so you may disagree, you may kind of think it's a joke, you may not understand why, but there are good reasons. Okay, and it's good enough reasons to try, to try and see ultimately what's happening. And it goes back to the charts, and this is the long conversation that we've been having on Telegram about D-Travel, about the charts. Let me go to the charts again to show you. How do we stop the selling, and how do we bring the price of TRVL up? How? And fundamentally what needs to happen is the value of TRVL must be linked to the growth of the real world network. Ever since D-Travel launched, there hasn't been any tangible connection between the value of TRVL and the growth of TRVL. So what you're seeing here is speculation. That's all it is. It's crypto speculation, which ended in a sell-off. And what we're seeing is, it seems to be a continuation of the sell-off, possibly in 3 waves, you know, possibly an A, B, C forming here. Okay. That's all we're seeing right now. And the Bybit SD tag hasn't helped, has it? But what the new leadership is doing, so new leadership has been in effect basically in a tangible way from July. What the leadership is doing is they're trying to change everything to connect the growth of the value of TRVL with the growth of the network. And then as we grow the real world network, the value of TRVL will go up. And that's going to be very important for all the people who are investing in TRVL. That's what's happening behind the scenes. It hasn't been, the details haven't been announced. I've been talking about it, partly speculation, but mostly just kind of preemptively giving our people and D-Travel investors confidence in the future, because I know a few things. Ultimately, it will change, and it will end up in the change of the tokenomics. The tokenomics will reflect what's going to happen, which will be a connection between the value of TRVL and the real world network. Along with the pilot scheme that's being launched, that will be connected directly to holding TRVL, buying and holding TRVL. And then later on down the line, there'll probably be more things added. I think, I can't say right now exactly because I don't know the exact details, but we're looking at something much bigger than people initially thought about D-Travel. Initially, people were looking at D-Travel being an Airbnb alternative. That's what initially people were looking at, an Airbnb alternative. It's not. That's changing. This is going to be much bigger. And this, what we've created initially, which is this kind of Airbnb, decentralized Airbnb, is going to be part of a much bigger decentralized business and application that we're creating. Okay, so this was just a foothold, and now we're going to see what happens next. It may, I mean, people, I'm not suggesting people just buy because everything's going to be good. Yeah, the market never moves in straight lines. Ultimately, if you do buy, you have to dollar cost average. You have to have an investment strategy which suits your risk appetite. Ultimately, don't listen to anyone. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to people in Telegram. Don't listen to people in the D-Travel channel. You have to do your own research. You have to believe in D-Travel. You have to believe in the D-Travel leadership for yourself. You have to have the confidence for yourself, and you have to take the decisions for yourself. There's no point coming into the T-Travel Telegram or X page and complaining, because ultimately we're all responsible for our own value. Okay, and there are some bad actors out there. There are some nefarious people who are doom and gloom. I think it's best to just ignore that noise and just focus on the confidence that you have in the business. If you don't have confidence, if you're not sure, if you're not confident, then there'll be plenty of opportunities to exit in the future as the price goes up. But I'm not selling, I'm buying more, you know, and I'm not saying copy me, but I've been buying more and I'm not looking to sell. Okay, and there's a lot of people like me, and this, for us, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity. Looking at the charts, it looks abysmal, but nothing's newer. Nothing's new. I think it would be nice to get back above the 5 million market cap mark to avert this Bybit SD tag. And I think with these new announcements in the upcoming weeks, it's possible that we are going to see a mega pump. Coincide that with Bitcoin bottoming or Bitcoin rallying. There are some opportunities to see a pump. I've been talking about a December pivot for a long time. So you may not have caught my streams in the past. If you haven't, then I apologize that you haven't. But I've been talking about a fib time pivot in December. You see that? Somewhere beginning to mid-December, a pivot. These pivots can be put in early or late. So it could be a bit earlier, it could be a bit later. No one really knows exactly when. They're kind of areas of time rather than exact days. So we are putting in a pivot here now. It's a bottom pivot, okay? And then the next pivot is going to be in March. And so potentially I do think we could pivot in the next week or 2 weeks or a few weeks from now onwards. And then hopefully we'll have to see if we can take out the high. There is now, just if people are interested, there is now starting to form a value area high at around 2.1 cents. So there's a big strong resistance area somewhere between the previous all-time low 1.9 and 2.1 cents. And that may be the next pump. Is possible. You can come in, if this is the pivot now, from just technically, just looking at it technically, if this is the pivot now, that also corresponds with the golden pocket of the last pivot high that was put in December last year. Assuming that this week is the pivot low, then you've got pretty strong resistance area with a golden pocket retraced to a value area high in a previous all-time low, and that will be a pretty strong resistance area. Okay, so potentially we get a rally up to there, and then we have to see what happens. We don't know. Okay, no one really knows. Could we reject, form a bottoming pattern here? Could it go down? Yeah, I mean, so many things could happen. Or could that be a good take profit and then the price actually does an ABC and then continues? Yeah, it could do that. Or could the price actually just pump, whatever, just keep on pumping and take out? It could do that too. The price can do so many things, and we just don't know what's going to happen. But at the moment, with the current pivot that's being formed, we do have a pretty strong resistance area somewhere between 1.9 and 2.1 cents. And it's just something that people should pay attention to, especially if you're looking to de-risk because you're worried about the bear market, you think you're over exposed. That would be a good place to de-risk. And then you can scale back in on the dips, or you can just wait and see what happens. There's lots of things that you can do after that happens. Okay, that's probably the best that I can do technically. But again, with these kind of microcap degen coins, super low market cap degen coins, anything can happen. Some multi-millionaire can come and just buy $2 million worth of TRVL in one go, and all of a sudden the price of TRVL is trading at 4 or 5 cents. No one knows. No one can predict that. If that happens, then that happens. You know, you can't predict that. And so it's better to have higher time frame strategies when you're dealing with these super low market cap coins. And in my view, it's my personal view, I'm looking at D-Travel extremely bullishly for a long-term future. Yeah, I'm looking at this higher time frame, multi-billion dollar company or more. That's what I'm looking at. Decentralized business. And therefore, I'm not like looking to trade this. If you want to trade, you should really be trading Bitcoin. But if you are looking to de-risk because you've overexposed and you need the money, then it's best to wait for key areas like 1.9 cents, 2 cents to skim, to de-risk, rather than panic sell at 0.0027. The price increase from the current price to major resistance is about a 600-700% increase in value, and so you're basically selling at a significant loss when you can just be patient and wait, and be patient and wait for that to happen, and then at least you can walk away not unhappy. Okay, but for me, I'll be looking to continuously add the dips. If we have found our bottom now, and you go back to coin market cap, $1.4 million, I'm assuming a person could sell a house or 2 houses and buy up the whole TRVL stack right now. And if you think that we have so many properties on our network, so many people who have a lot of value who are already involved in our network, I wouldn't be surprised if we are forming the absolute low now. Now, does it mean we don't revisit the low in the future? No, it doesn't mean that. If we do reject from 2 cents, if we do pump and reject, it is possible we go down to try and revisit the low. Okay. Depending on how the price descends, but then by then maybe the network's grown, the tokenomics have changed, so many things have, everything becomes clear, and then you get a much more interest, and we actually hold a higher low, and then actually we have bottomed out on a higher time frame. And so time will tell. With projects like this, with the new leadership and the new vision, I think what we need to do now is give it time, probably time, patience. And the reality is that everyone can participate in how, once the tokenomics changes, everyone will be incentivized to contribute to the real world network growth of D-Travel. That's the reality of the future. Once the tokenomics changes, once the pilot is announced, once some other changes that I haven't talked about yet are announced, I think everyone is going to be really excited about the D-Travel and TRVL future. And rather than people look at opportunities to sell, I think then people will be looking at opportunities to buy, to accumulate. So that the narrative, once the narrative changes, once the vision is executed, and once the changes are visible, you're going to start getting a lot of people, rather than see dips as as scary moments, they're going to see dips as opportunities to buy more, buy more, buy more. Everything changes then. Okay, that's the future that I believe we're heading for. And then once you change the sentiment like that, then the only thing we can do then is bottom out on the higher time frame and then eventually explode to the upside. All right, so that's kind of my TRVL D-Travel update. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, then please go into our Telegram channel. It's at D-Travel Community. You can also follow D-Travel on the X page, which is D-Travel DAO, D-Travel DAO. And you can also put comments underneath this YouTube stream. If you're going to chat to me, feel free to message me, but just be nice and courteous. That would be appreciated. Otherwise, I will probably ignore you or block you. That's probably what will happen. All right. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week, on possibly at the beginning of the month, because I'll probably do a second update tomorrow just to look at the monthly candle. All right. Have a nice day.